The winter of 1179. A thick fog hangs over Rouen, a silent accomplice to the whispers echoing through the stone palace. King Philip is sick, his breath shallow, his grip on power even weaker. But the real danger isn't the fever in his blood. It's the men waiting in the shadows, their ambition a far deadlier disease. Welcome to medieval Europe, a time when power wasn't inherited, it was seized. A time when the crown was a target, not a birthright. This is the story of the unstable crown. Philip was a king in name only. The true power lay scattered across the land, held by nobles who were kings in their own right. Each lord commanded a small army, a loyal band of swords ready to carve out a new kingdom. In the dim, narrow corridors of the palace, you could hear the whispers. Count Richard, his voice a low rumble, would say, "The country needs a strong man, not a dying body." He never said I, but everyone knew who he meant. His ambition was an open secret, a blade hidden just beneath his cloak. The conspiracy was born not in a war room, but in the dead of night. Richard met with the city's bishop and the commander of the royal guard. A simple, brutal transaction. The church, ever hungry for more influence. The guard, ever thirsty for more gold. And Richard, he just wanted the crown. This wasn't a grand revolution with banners and battle cries. It was a quiet, suffocating coup. In a single night, the palace's supply lines were choked off. The guards, their loyalty bought and sold, simply looked the other way. The heavy iron gates slammed shut, sealing the king's fate. When the sun rose, a royal herald announced to the city that King Philip had died peacefully in his sleep. Before the king's body was even cold, Richard was on the throne. He stood before the people and declared that God himself had chosen him to lead. He assured the priests that his rule would bring stability, a blessing from heaven. But the other nobles, the ones who hadn't been part of his little deal, they weren't buying it. They knew the unwritten rule of the Middle Ages. One coup always begets another. The game had just begun. Months later, far to the north, a powerful duke raised his banner in open rebellion. His message was clear and aimed directly at Richard. He who kills a king will not reign long. And just like that, the country was plunged into civil war. The whispers of the palace turned into the screams of the battlefield. Villages were burned to the ground. Peasants who had never held a sword were forced into the front lines. Knights in shining armor charged to their deaths, fighting for names and titles they would never truly understand. The soldiers on both sides weren't fighting for a king. They fought because they were hungry, or because they were afraid. They fought because they were told to. 5 long, bloody years passed. Finally, at a battle whose name is now lost to history, Richard lost. His army was shattered, but he wasn't granted a warrior's death on the field. He was captured, stripped of his finery, and thrown into a cold, damp cell. There, with a shaking hand, he wrote a final, short message. The crown is not worth this silence. He was executed the next morning, without a trial, without ceremony, and the very next day, a new king was crowned. And so it went. The name changed, the face changed, but the system, the endless, brutal cycle of violence, remained exactly the same. In medieval Europe, wars were never fought for the people. They were fought for the men who craved power. And the crown, that glittering symbol of ultimate authority, was always too heavy for one man to bear, and far too light to protect his head. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.